Everyone called Titi a fool. Why would a poor girl living in a Lagos slum reject a wealthy big boy who wants to change her life? Instead of choosing the soft life in a Lekki mansion, Titi chooses to become a maid, washing clothes and scrubbing toilets for a strict teacher just to get a chance at education. But when family pressure mounts and a shocking lie threatens to destroy her future, Titi is forced to make the hardest decision of her life. Will she regret rejecting the millions? Or will her sacrifice pay off in a way no one expected? Welcome to Folktale Bestie. We bring you powerful tales that touch the heart and challenge the mind. If you enjoy our storytelling, please hit that subscribe button to help our community grow. It means the world to us. And before we dive in, tell us in the comments, which country are you watching from today? We love seeing our family expand across the globe. The air inside the small salon in Yaba was thick and hot. The smell of burning hair relaxer mixed with the loud sound of a generator rumbling outside. Titi sat on a low wooden stool between the legs of the hairdresser, wincing slightly as the woman pulled her hair tight to weave it. "Madam, take it easy now," Titi complained, adjusting her neck. "I want to look like a star, not a headache patient." From the corner of the shop, a girl named Shade laughed loudly. Shade was washing her hair in the sink, water splashing everywhere. "Star!" Shade mocked, wiping soap from her forehead. "Titi, which kind of star are you?" "The one that does not shine. Please lower your voice." We all know the story. Titi stiffened. She knew what was coming. It was the same song everyone in the neighborhood sang. "I am a superstar in the making," Titi shot back, flipping her hand in the air. "You people will see me on TV soon. I am going to the university to study mass communication. I will be a presenter." The whole shop burst into laughter. Even the hairdresser chuckled as she continued braiding. "Titi, stop dreaming," Shade said, her voice sharp like a razor. "Is it not the same university you have been chasing for 4 years? For times you have written jam, for times you have failed. You finished secondary school, but you don't even have a credit in English. How can a presenter not know English?" The words hit Titi hard. They were true, and that made them hurt more. She had finished secondary school with poor grades. She had tried to rewrite the exams, but every year, something went wrong. Sometimes she failed, sometimes the results were withheld. But in public, Titi never showed her pain. "I am taking my time," Titi lied, lifting her chin. "A queen does not rush. When I enter, I will enter big. I am a full package." "You are a half-pack," Shade hissed. "Go and find a trade, my friend. School is not for people with coconut heads." Titi stood up abruptly. Her hair was only halfway done, but she could not stay there anymore. She threw some crumpled Naira notes on the hairdresser's table. "Keep the change," she said, though she needed every kobo. She walked out of the shop, swaying her hips as if she didn't care, but her eyes were burning with held-back tears. Outside, the Lagos sun was unforgiving. Yellow buses honked aggressively, and conductors hung from the doors shouting their destinations. Titi walked past the busy Yaba market, dodging traders selling second-hand clothes and roasted corn. The noise of the city usually gave her energy, but today, it felt heavy. She walked all the way to the mainland, to the crowded street where she lived. Her house was a face-me-I-face-you tenement building. It was an old painted concrete block where many families shared one kitchen and one bathroom. The hallway smelled of kerosene stoves and frying fish. Titi pushed open the door to the single room she shared with her mother. The room was small, filled with old furniture and piles of clothes. Her mother, Mama Titi, was sitting on the edge of the bed. She had a small plastic bowl on her lap and was counting dirty, wrinkled Naira notes. Mama Titi was a petty trader. She sold pepper and tomatoes at the junction. "Good evening, Mama," Titi said quietly, dropping her bag. Mama Titi did not look up immediately. She continued counting. 200, 300. "Titi, you are back early. Is your hair done?" Titi touched her half-braided hair. "I did not finish. The place was too noisy." She sat on the floor near her mother's feet. She needed to ask, even though she knew the answer. "Mama," Titi started, her voice low. "The registration for JAM is closing next week. I need money for the form. And for the center fees." Mama Titi stopped counting. She put the money inside the bowl and covered it. She looked at her daughter with eyes that were red from dust and tiredness. "Titi," Mama said slowly. "I don't have it." "Mama, please," Titi begged. "This is the 5th time. I promise, this time I will pass. I have been reading." "You said that last year," Mama replied, her voice rising in frustration. "You said that the year before. Do Do you know how many crates of tomatoes I have to sell to raise that money? We are struggling to eat, Titi. The landlord is disturbing us for rent. Nipa has cut the light. And you want me to throw another 15,000 naira into the fire? It is not throwing it away, Mama. It is my future. Is marriage not a future? Mama asked sharply. Titi froze. Mama. Mama Titi stood up and wiped her hands on her wrapper. Look at your mates. Look at Tolu down the street. She is married. She is pregnant. Her husband sends rice to her mother. Me, I am here feeding a grown woman who is chasing paper dreams. I want to go to school, Mama, Titi cried. School has rejected you, Titi, Mama said with a finality that broke Titi's heart. There is no money for jam. If you want to leave this poverty, use your beauty, not your book. Find a husband. That is the only way out for us now. Mama picked up her bowl and walked out to the communal kitchen, leaving Titi alone in the dim room. Titi looked at her old textbooks stacked in the corner. She wiped a tear from her cheek. She was not ready to give up. She was a winner, even if nobody else believed it yet. The morning sun met Titi already awake. She had not slept much. Her mother's words about marriage and poverty had replayed in her mind all night like a broken record. But instead of breaking her spirit, they hardened her resolve. She looked at her reflection in the small, cracked mirror on the wall. Her eyes were puffy, but her jaw was set tight. I will not marry for food, she whispered to herself. I will feed myself. She knew she could not pass this exam alone. Her previous results proved that reading on her own was not enough. She needed a guide, a master of the subjects. She needed Mr. Femi. Mr. Femi ran the most popular tutorial center in Surulere. It was known as the Factory because he manufactured university students out of hopeless cases. But quality had a price, and Femi's private coaching was expensive. Far more than Mama Titi's pepper business could afford. Titi packed her bag, not with money, but with determination. She took a bus to Surulere, clutching her bag tight to her chest. When she arrived at the center, the class was just ending. Students spilled out, chatting and laughing. Titi stood by the gate, waiting like a hawk until the last student had left. Mr. Femi was inside, wiping complex equations off the chalkboard. He was a young man, perhaps in his late 20s, known for his strict face and simple shirts. He turned around and saw Titi standing in the doorway. The class is over, Femi said, dusting chalk from his hands. If you want to register, come back tomorrow with your form. Titi stepped inside. She did not look at the floor. She looked straight at him. Good afternoon, sir. I am not here to register for the general class. I need the private coaching, the one you do on weekends and evenings. Femi looked her up and down. That one is premium, my sister. It is for serious students who are ready to pay for my time. Do you have the deposit? I don't have money, Titi said flatly. Femi sighed and picked up his bag. Then you are in the wrong place. Education is not free, and my time is not cheap. Go and save up. He tried to walk past her, but Titi blocked his path. She went down on her knees right there on the dusty concrete floor. Sir, please listen. I have written this exam 4 times. 4 times I have seen fail. If I fail again, my mother will marry me off to a man I do not love just so we can eat rice. I cannot let that happen. Femi stopped. He looked uncomfortable. Stand up. I don't like this drama. Many people have stories. Titi stood up, dusting her knees. I am not begging for charity, sir. I want to pay you, but not with money. I want to trade. Trade? Do you sell cars? Femi asked, confused. I have 2 hands, Titi said, showing her palms. I hear you are a bachelor living alone. I know how bachelors live. Clothes pile up. Plates stay in the sink. The floor gathers dust because you are too busy teaching to clean. Femi narrowed his eyes. She was right, but he would not admit it. I will come to your house 3 times a week, Titi proposed, her voice gaining strength. I will wash all your clothes. I will iron them crisp. I will scrub your toilet, wash your plates, and sweep every corner. I will turn your house into a palace. In exchange, you give me 2 hours of lessons each time. Service for knowledge. That is the trade. Femi laughed, a short, dry sound. You want to be my house girl, so I can teach you English? Do you know how that looks? A young girl coming to a single man's house to wash his boxers? People will talk. My reputation is important. Let them talk, Titi said fiercely. Talk does not cook beans. Talk does not give admission. If you are a decent man, and I am a serious student, what concerns the world? I am desperate, sir. I am offering you labor that is worth more than the cash fees. Femi looked at her. He saw the fire in her eyes. He saw a girl who was fighting for her life with the only currency she had left, her strength. He thought about the pile of dirty shirts in his room and the unwashed pots from 3 days ago. He was tired of living in a mess, and he admired her hustle. This was the Lego spirit. If the door is locked, jump through the window. 3 times a week? Femi asked slowly. Yes, sir. Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays. And you will do everything? Ironing included. Everything, Titi promised. I wash like a machine. Femi was silent for a long moment. Then he nodded. Okay, he said. But this is strictly business. You do your work, we do the lesson, and you go. No stories, no excuses. No stories, sir. Titi smiled for the first time in days. Just book. Come on Monday, Femi said, walking out the door. And bring your brain, not just your soap. Titi watched him go. She touched her chest. Her heart was beating fast, but the fear was gone. She had a deal. She had a chance. Now the real work was about to begin. The deal with Mr. Femi started immediately. For the next 2 weeks, Titi lived 2 lives. In the mornings, she was a house girl. She scrubbed the white tiles of Mr. Femi's apartment in Surelaire until her knuckles hurt. She soaked his white shirts, scrubbing the collars until they were spotless, and ironed them until they could cut paper. In the evenings, she became a student. As soon as the last plate was dried, she would sit at the small dining table, and Mr. Femi would switch from being her master to her teacher. He was strict. He did not care that she was tired from washing his toilet. If she missed a comma in an essay, he made her rewrite it. It was grueling work, but Titi did not complain. She felt her brain waking up, sharpening like a knife against a stone. One Wednesday evening, after a particularly hard session of algebra, Titi stood at the Ojalegba bus stop. The Lagos rush hour was in full madness. The sun was setting, but the heat was still heavy, rising from the tarmac. Dust filled the air, mixing with the black smoke from the yellow buses. Titi was tired. Her back ached from bending over the bathtub washing jeans. She stood close to the edge of the road, waving her hand at the buses that were too full to stop. Suddenly, a massive black SUV tore through the traffic, swerving to avoid a pothole. It moved too fast for the crowded street. The tires hit a puddle of stagnant water near the curb. Boom! Titi jumped back just in time, but dirty water splashed onto her slippers and the hem of her skirt. Are you mad? Titi shouted, her frustration boiling over. You drive like you own the road. The big car slammed on its brakes a few meters away. The tinted window rolled down slowly. Cold air-conditioned breeze rushed out, hitting Titi's sweaty face. The man behind the wheel took off his dark sunglasses. He was young, perhaps in his early 30s, with a fresh haircut and a thick gold chain resting on his branded polo shirt. This was Kunnel. Kunnel looked at Titi. He did not look at her dirty slippers or the cheap skirt. He looked at her face. Even in her anger, with sweat on her forehead, Titi was striking. Fine girl, no vex, Kunnel said, smiling a smile that showed white teeth. I didn't see a diamond standing in the dust. Titi rolled her eyes. Keep your English. Just watch the road. She turned away, hoping a bus would come. But Kunnel did not move. He put the car in reverse and rolled back until he was right beside her. I said sorry, Kunnel pressed. Let me make it up to you. The sun is too hot for this kind of beauty. Enter, let me drop you at home. I don't enter strangers' cars, Titi said sharply. Kunnel laughed, tapping the steering wheel. I am not a stranger. I am Kunnel. I bring these cars from America. I am an importer. Now you know me. Enter. No, Titi said. She started walking away, preferring to trek than to stand there. Kunnel was not used to hearing no. In Lagos, his car usually opened all doors. He drove slowly beside her, blocking traffic, causing other drivers to honk and curse. Why are you suffering yourself? Kunnel called out through the window. My AC is chilling. I live in Lekki. I can show you soft life. Why are you choosing dust? Titi ignored him, walking faster until she reached her street on the mainland. To her horror, Kunnel followed her, his massive jeep navigating the narrow, pothole-riddled road of her neighborhood. The car looked like a spaceship in a village. When they got to the front of her tenement building, Mama Titi was sitting outside on a bench, picking beans. She looked up and saw the shiny black beast of a car stop in front of their house. Her mouth fell open. Then she saw her daughter walking beside it. Titi tried to rush inside, but Kunnel hopped out of the car. He wore expensive sneakers that looked too clean for the ground. "Good evening, Mama." Cunnel greeted loudly, bowing slightly with improved respect. Mama Titi stood up, dusting her wrapper. "Good evening, my son. Ah, welcome to our humble place." "I just wanted to make sure your daughter got home safe," Cunnel said, flashing his car keys. "She is too precious to be suffering in public transport." Mama Titi looked at the car, then at Cunnel's gold chain, and finally at Titi. Her eyes sparkled. She did not see a stranger, she saw a miracle. She saw a ticket out of the one-room apartment. "Titi," Mama scolded, pulling her daughter back. "Why are you frowning? Can't you thank the nice man? He brought you home like a princess." "He nearly splashed me with water, Mama," Titi hissed. "He is arrogant. He is a helper." Mama whispered back harshly. She turned to Cunnel with a wide smile. "Don't mind her, she is shy. Please, what is your name?" "I am Cunnel," he said, puffing his chest. "I deal in automobiles." "Automobiles." Mama repeated the word like it was delicious. "Titi, bring a chair for Mr. Cunnel. Go and buy cold malt." "I am busy, Mama," Titi said, clutching her bag tight. "I have assignments." She walked past them into the dark house, leaving her mother apologizing to the millionaire. Titi sat on her bed and opened her book, but she couldn't read. Outside, she could hear her mother laughing loudly at Cunnel's jokes, a sound that made Titi's stomach turn. She knew a new battle had just begun. For the next few weeks, Mr. Femi's apartment in Surulere became the only place where Titi could breathe. Her house on the mainland had turned into a market of pressure. Cunnel was relentless. He visited almost every evening, parking his black SUV in front of the tenement building like a trophy. He brought bags of rice, cartoons of frozen fish, and Ankara fabrics for Mama Titi. Mama Titi was in heaven. She sang Cunnel's praises from morning till night. "Titi, look at the man God sent to us," she would say, stroking the new lace material. "He wants to open a shop for me. He wants to change our lives. Why are you still holding on to this book that has given us nothing but headache?" Titi said nothing. She simply packed her bag and ran to Surulere. Femi's flat was different. It was quiet. There was no generator noise, just the soft hum of the ceiling fan and the scratching of pens on paper. Here, nobody asked Titi about her marriage plans. Nobody looked at her hips or her face. Here, the only thing that mattered was her brain. One rainy Thursday evening, the atmosphere in the apartment shifted. Femi had returned from the tutorial center looking drained. The traffic on I-Corridor Road had been terrible, and he had spent 4 hours standing and teaching mathematics to a crowded hall of students. He walked in, threw his bag on the sofa, and collapsed into the armchair. He groaned, rubbing the back of his neck. "Sir, are you okay?" Titi asked. She was by the ironing board, pressing his shirts for the week. "It is stress, Titi," Femi said, his eyes closed. "My head is pounding. My shoulders feel like they are carrying bags of cement." Titi set the iron down. She looked at him. He looked vulnerable, not like the strict master who shouted about algebra. Without thinking too much, she walked over to him. "Let me help you," Titi said softly. "I used to massage my grandmother's back when she had rheumatism. I have strong hands." Femi hesitated, but the pain was too much. "Okay, just a little. Thank you." Titi stood behind the chair. She placed her hands on his shoulders. Her fingers, roughened by years of washing clothes, worked into his tense muscles. She pressed her thumbs into the knots at the base of his neck. Femi let out a long, deep sigh. "Ah, Titi, you have magic hands." The room went silent. The only sound was the rain hitting the glass window. As Titi worked, the professional distance between them began to thin. She was no longer just the student or the cleaner. He was no longer just the teacher. They were a man and a woman in a quiet room, sharing a moment of relief. Titi felt a strange heat rise in her chest. She looked down at the back of his head. She liked the smell of his cologne. It wasn't expensive and overpowering like Cunnel's perfume. It smelled like soap and old books. "That is enough," Femi said suddenly, sitting up straight. He cleared his throat, adjusting his glasses. "Thank you. That helped." "You are welcome, sir," Titi said, stepping back quickly. Her hands felt tingly. "Have you eaten?" Femi asked, trying to break the tension. "No, sir." "Go to the kitchen. Cook 2 packs of Indomie. Add eggs. Let us eat before we study. A hungry brain cannot learn." They ate the noodles together at the small dining table. Usually, Femi ate while marking papers and Titi ate in the kitchen. But tonight, they shared the space. "Titi, why do you want this degree so badly?" Femi asked between mouthfuls. You see how hard the country is. Even graduates are driving Okada. Why not just marry that rich man your mother talks about? Titi put her fork down. She looked him in the eye. Because I want to be someone, she said passionately. Kunal looks at me and sees a decoration. He sees a fine face to put in his big car. He doesn't ask me what I think. He doesn't care if I can read or write. But when I am here, when I solve a math problem, or when I write a good essay, I feel powerful. I want to own my own mind, sir. I don't want to be a rich man's property. Femi stopped eating. He looked at Titi with a new kind of respect. He didn't see the girl who scrubbed his toilet. He saw a fighter. He saw grit, the kind of stubborn strength that Lagos could not break. You have fire in you, Titi, Femi said quietly. Real fire. Most people would have given up after the second failure. You are still here fighting. I am fighting because you are teaching me to fight, Titi replied. Their eyes locked. In that moment, the equation changed. Titi realized she wasn't just grateful to him. She was falling for him. She was falling for the way he pushed her to be better, the way he respected her thoughts. Unlike Kunal, who offered her the world on a platter, Femi offered her a pen and told her to write her own world. Finish your food, Femi said, his voice softer than usual. We have to tackle quadratic equations tonight. I want you to score 300, not just pass. Yes, sir, Titi smiled. And for the first time, she wasn't studying just to escape poverty. She was studying to make him proud. The next Friday, Titi woke up with a song in her mouth. The heavy feeling that usually sat on her chest was gone. For the first time in years, she felt light. She ironed her skirt twice. She used a little bit of her mother's powder on her face. She told herself it was just to look neat for work, but deep down, she knew she wanted Mr. Femi to look at her again the way he did on Tuesday night. She packed her books and walked to the bus stop. She did not even mind the conductors shouting. In her head, she was already at Femi's apartment, sitting across from him, solving equations and sharing silence. She felt like she finally belonged somewhere. Femi had sent her a text message earlier. Please buy 2 meat pies at the eatery near the junction when coming. I have a guest. Titi smiled when she read it. She thought the guest was another student or maybe a colleague. She stopped at the popular eatery down the street from Femi's house. The smell of fresh dough and fried chicken filled the air. As she walked towards the glass doors, she froze. Through the large window, she saw him. Mr. Femi was sitting at a corner table. But he was not alone. Sitting opposite him was a lady. She was beautiful in a way that intimidated Titi immediately. She wore a crisp white shirt and the green khaki trousers of a youth corper. Her hair was packed in a neat bun, and she wore gold earrings that caught the light. She looked educated. She looked polished. She looked like she belonged to Femi's world. Titi stepped back, hiding behind a pillar outside. She watched them. Femi threw his head back and laughed, a loud, free laugh that Titi had never heard before. He reached across the table and tapped the lady's hand playfully. The lady, Beezy, slapped his arm back, smiling widely. They looked comfortable. They looked intimate. They looked like a couple who spoke the same language, a language of degrees and success. Titi looked down at her own faded skirt and her rubber sandals. The 2 meat pies she was supposed to buy suddenly felt like a heavy stone in her stomach. Who are you deceiving? A voice inside her head mocked. You are just the washer girl. You scrub his toilet. You wash his boxers. That lady in there is his level. The fantasy Titi had built over the last few weeks shattered like glass. She remembered how Femi had looked at her with pity when she first begged for lessons. She remembered the professional line he talked about. She realized she had been a fool. When he looked at her with respect, it was the respect a master has for a hard-working servant, not the love a man has for a woman. Tears pricked her eyes, hot and fast. She felt foolish. She felt dirty. She turned around and walked away from the eatery. She walked past the bus stop, past the Okada riders, all the way back to the main road. Her phone buzzed in her pocket. It was Femi, probably wondering where his meat pies were. Titi ignored it. She switched the phone off. When she got home, Mama Titi was surprised to see her. Titi, you are back early. Did you finish the lesson? I am not going back there, Titi said, her voice dull and flat. What? Why? Mama asked, dropping the onion she was peeling. Did the teacher drive you away? I am tired, Mama, Titi said, walking past her into the dark room. I am just tired of pretending. She threw her bag into the corner. The textbooks spilled out onto the floor. English, mathematics, biology. They looked like rubbish to her now. She crawled into her bed and pulled the wrapper over her head. For the next 3 days, Titi did not go to Surulere. She did not turn on her phone. She lay in the dark, listening to the sounds of the tenement house, babies crying, neighbors fighting, and the constant thumping of her own broken heart. She believed she had seen the truth through that glass window. Love was for people like Beezy, people with degrees and khaki uniforms. For people like Titi, there was only suffering, washing, and waiting. She had tried to jump higher than her height, and she had fallen flat on her face. Her chance at admission felt gone, and the hope of love felt like a cruel joke. The darkness of the room felt safer than the light of the classroom. Titi closed her eyes and let the despair take over. For 3 days, the small room in the tenement house felt like a grave. Titi did not bathe. She did not open the window. She just lay on the bed, staring at the water stains on the ceiling. Her phone remained switched off, hidden under her pillow. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Mr. Femi laughing with the beautiful lady in the khaki uniform. The image cut her deeper than any knife. Mama Titi watched her daughter closely. She was a woman who knew how to read signs. She saw the dusty textbooks kicked into the corner. She saw the sadness that hung over Titi like a dark cloud. She did not know exactly what happened at the teacher's house, but she knew one thing: Titi's spirit was broken. And for Mama Titi, a broken spirit was an open door. On the 4th morning, Mama Titi did not go to the market. She swept the room carefully, arranging the chairs. She went to the junction and bought 2 bottles of cold malt and a plate of puff-puff. She returned and locked the door from the inside. "Titi, sit up," Mama said, her voice firm but not unkind. "We need to talk. This is a family meeting." Titi sat up slowly, wrapping her wrapper around her chest. She looked thin and tired. Mama Titi sat opposite her. She opened a bottle of malt and placed it in front of Titi. "Drink," Mama commanded. "You need strength for what I want to say." Titi took a small sip. The sugar tasted like ash in her mouth. "Titi, look at this room," Mama began, spreading her hands. "Look at the cracked walls. Look at the floor. Is this how you want to die? Managing poverty?" "No, Mama," Titi whispered. "I am getting old, Titi. My back hurts from selling pepper under the sun. The landlord told me yesterday that if we don't pay the rent by month end, he will throw our things outside. Do you want us to sleep in the gutter?" Titi shook her head. Tears began to gather in her eyes again. "Good. Now listen to me." Mama leaned forward. "Kunal was here yesterday while you were sleeping. He asked of you. That man loves you, Titi. He is not playing. He told me he is ready to pay your bride price immediately. He wants to take us out of this slum. He wants to put me in a shop and put you in a mansion in Lekki." "But I don't love him, Mama," Titi said weakly, though the fight was gone from her voice. "Love?" Mama scoffed. "Love is for people who have eaten full belly. That teacher you were running to, has he given you admission? Has he given you money? No. He has probably found his own level, which is why you are crying in bed." Titi flinched. Mama's words hit the sore spot. "Kunal is offering you a life of rest," Mama continued, her voice softer now, almost pleading. "AC driver. Good food. No more jumping bus. No more insult from neighbors. Titi, save us. Be a good daughter." Titi looked at her mother's rough hands. She looked at the textbooks in the corner. Those books represented a dream that now felt foolish. Femi belonged to the polished girl in the eatery. Titi belonged to the dust of the mainland. Why was she fighting destiny? She took a deep breath. It felt like she was breathing in smoke. "Okay, Mama," Titi said quietly. Mama Titi froze. "Okay. You mean? Tell Kunal I accept," Titi said, her voice dead. "I will marry him." Mama Titi screamed with joy. She jumped up and hugged Titi, dancing around the small room. "God has done it. My shame is over. I will be a landlady." Titi sat still like a statue while her mother celebrated. Later that evening, Titi finally stepped outside to wash her face at the communal tap. She met her childhood friend, Nkechi, who lived 2 houses away. Nkechi was holding a bucket, surprised to see Titi. "Titi, where have you been? I heard you were sick," Nkechi said. Titi pumped water into her bowl. "I was sick, Nkechi, but I am cured now." "You look different," Nkechi observed. "Your eyes are empty." "I am getting married," Titi said abruptly. Nkechi dropped her bucket. "Married? To who? Is it the teacher?" Titi laughed, a dry, humorless sound. "Teacher? No. Teachers are for smart girls. I am marrying Kunal, the car dealer. The one with the big Jeep? But Titi, you said he is arrogant. You said you want to go to university. University is a dream, Nkechi, Titi said, lifting her heavy bucket. Lekki is reality. I am tired of suffering. I have accepted my fate. I will be a rich man's wife. I will wear lace and sleep in AC. Is that not what every girl prays for? It is not what you prayed for, Nkechi whispered. Prayers change when hunger enters, Titi replied. She turned and walked back to the house, carrying the water on her head, walking straight into a future she did not want, but one she no longer had the strength to refuse. 2 days passed, and Titi did not return to Surulere. At first, Mr. Femi thought she was sick. He called her phone, but it went straight to voicemail. He sent text messages asking if she was okay, but they remained undelivered. By the 3rd day, a cold feeling settled in his stomach. It wasn't just that his house was messy again. The silence in the apartment felt wrong. He missed the sound of her humming while she ironed. He missed the way her brow furrowed when she tackled a difficult equation. On Saturday morning, Femi couldn't take the silence anymore. He closed the tutorial center early and took a bike straight to the mainland. He didn't know Titi's exact house number, but he knew the street. When he arrived at the dusty, crowded street, he didn't need to ask for directions. A group of women were gathered by a water pump, chatting loudly. Can you imagine? One woman said, clapping her hands. Mama Titi has hit jackpot, that her daughter is marrying the big car dealer next week. Next week? Another exclaimed. Money speaks fast. From failure to first lady. Femi's heart stopped. Marriage? Next week. He ran down the street, ignoring the dust coating his shoes. He found the tenement house easily. It was the one with the loudest music playing. A canopy was already being set up outside. He rushed into the compound. Mama Titi was sitting on a plastic chair, directing 2 men who were hanging decorations. She looked like a queen on a throne. Mama Titi. Femi called out, breathless. Mama looked up. Her smile vanished when she saw him. Teacher? What are you doing here? We don't need lessons today. We are celebrating. I heard she is getting married, Femi said, walking closer. Is it true? It is very true, Mama said proudly, adjusting her headgear. My daughter has finally woken up. She is marrying a man who can take care of her. But her exams, Femi pleaded. Mama, Titi is ready. She is scoring high in all our practice tests. She has a brilliant mind. If she marries now, that potential dies. She will just be a wife in a big house. Let her go to school first. Mama stood up, her face hard. Will school buy this canopy? Will school pay my rent? You teachers talk about potential because you don't know hunger. Kunal has paid. It is finished. Please leave my compound. Femi looked towards the dark doorway of the house. He couldn't see Titi, but he felt her presence. He knew she didn't want this. He remembered her words. I don't want to be a rich man's property. He looked back at Mama Titi. Her eyes were set like stone. Reason would not move her. Logic would not move her. Only fear would move a mother. Femi took a deep breath. He had to do something drastic. Mama, Femi said, his voice dropping to a whisper. There is something you don't know. Something Titi told me. Mama paused, sensing the change in his tone. What? Titi didn't stop coming to lessons because she was happy, Femi lied, his heart racing. She stopped because she was saying goodbye. Goodbye to who? To the world, Mama. Femi stepped closer, making his eyes wide with fake panic. Titi told me that if you force her to marry this man, she will end it all. She said she has already bought the poison. She plans to jump into the Lagos lagoon on the morning of the wedding. Mama Titi staggered back. Her hand flew to her chest. Jesus. My Titi. Poison. She said she prefers death to a loveless marriage. Femi pressed on, adding more weight to the lie. She is only agreeing to make you happy, but inside, she is planning her funeral. Do you want to bury your daughter next week instead of marrying her? God forbid. Mama screamed, tearing off her headgear. God forbid bad thing. At that exact moment, Kunal's black SUV rolled into the compound. He stepped out, smiling, holding a bottle of expensive wine. Mama, Kunal shouted happily. I brought the wine for the elders. Mama Titi looked at Kunal. Then she looked at the dark room where her daughter was sleeping. The fear of losing her child overwhelmed the greed for money. She ran towards Kunal like a madwoman. Go away, she screamed, pushing the bewildered man. Take your wine. Take your money. Take your car. I don't want. Mama, what is wrong? Kunal asked, stepping back, confused. Is the money not enough? I don't want your money. Mama wailed. You want to kill my daughter? You want me to bury my only child? Get out. Don't ever come back here. The marriage is cancelled. Cancelled. She picked up a stone and threw it at the shiny black car. Mad woman, Cunnel shouted, scrambling back into his driver's seat. You people are cursed. Keep your poverty. He reversed the car violently and sped off, kicking up a cloud of dust. The neighbors watched in shock as the helper drove away. Mama Titi collapsed on the ground, weeping. My Titi-o. My Titi wants to die. Femi stood there, watching the chaos he had caused. He felt guilty for the lie, but as he watched the SUV disappear, he knew he had bought Titi a second chance. Now he just had to explain it to her. The noise outside woke Titi from her daze. She heard Cunnel's engine roar away, followed by the sound of her mother wailing on the floor. Titi rushed out of the room, blinking in the harsh sunlight. She found Mama Titi sitting in the dust, her headgear thrown aside, rocking back and forth. Mama, what happened? Titi asked, kneeling beside her. Where is Cunnel? Mama grabbed Titi's shoulders, her grip tight and trembling. She pulled Titi close, smelling of sweat and fear. I didn't know, Titi. I didn't know it was that bad, Mama cried. I prefer hunger to death. I prefer poverty to seeing you in a coffin. Don't do it, my daughter. Don't leave me. Titi pulled back, confused. Leave you? Mama, what are you talking about? The lagoon, Mama sobbed. The poison. The teacher told me everything. He said you planned to kill yourself on the wedding day. That you would rather die than marry Cunnel. Titi froze. Her blood went cold. The teacher? Mr. Femi told you that? Yes. He ran here to save you. He said you confided in him. Titi, why didn't you tell me? Am I a wicked mother? I cancelled the wedding. Cunnel is gone. I chased him away. Just promise me you won't jump. Titi stood up slowly. Her confusion turned into shock, and then the shock turned into a burning, white-hot anger. Suicide? Jumping into the lagoon? How dare he? How dare he paint her as a weak, broken girl who needed to be saved from herself? It was a humiliation. He had turned her into a pathetic victim in front of her own mother and the whole neighborhood. I am not going to kill myself, Mama, Titi said, her voice shaking with rage. I never said that. I never thought that. But the teacher is a liar, Titi spat. She didn't wait for her mother to reply. She grabbed her slippers and marched out of the compound. She didn't walk, she stormed. She boarded a bike at the junction. Surelair, she barked at the rider. Fly me there. The wind whipped her face as the bike weaved through traffic, but it did not cool her anger. When she arrived at Femi's apartment, she didn't knock. She banged on the door with her fist. Femi opened it. He looked relieved to see her, but that relief vanished when he saw the look on her face. Titi, you liar! Titi screamed, pushing past him into the living room. You manipulative liar! Who told you I wanted to die? Who gave you the right to tell my mother I am suicidal? Femi closed the door. Titi, listen. I had to stop the wedding. Your mother wasn't listening to reason. So you decided to disgrace me? Titi shouted, tears of frustration finally falling. You made me look like a mad person. Do you know my mother is rolling on the floor crying because she thinks her daughter is about to drink poison? You think you are a hero? You are just selfish. Selfish. Femi's voice rose. I did it because I couldn't stand it. I couldn't stand watching you throw your life away for a man who treats you like furniture. I couldn't let you give up on your dreams, Titi. You have too much potential. My potential is none of your business. Titi yelled back. You don't care about me. You only care about your student passing exams so you can look good. Go and save your girlfriend, Beezy. Leave me alone. The room went silent. Femi looked at her, confused. Beezy, he asked. What does Beezy have to do with this? I saw you, Titi cried, wiping her face aggressively. I saw you at the eatery laughing with her, touching her hand. The fine corper girl. You have a woman on your level, so why are you playing games with the washer girl? Femi stared at her for a moment, and then he started to laugh. It was a breathless, incredulous laugh. Is that why you stopped coming? Femi asked, stepping closer. Titi, Beezy is my childhood friend. We grew up on the same street. She came to tell me she got her visa to Canada. She is moving to join her fiancé in Toronto. That was why we were celebrating. Titi stopped. Her mouth opened, but no words came out. Fiancé? Yes, Femi said, looking straight into her eyes. She is not my girlfriend. She never was. I don't have a girlfriend, Titi. The only woman I have been thinking about, the only woman I have been rushing home to see every evening, is you. Titi felt the ground shift beneath her feet. The anger drained out of her, leaving her feeling exposed and foolish. She looked at Femi. He wasn't lying. She could see it in his eyes. You lied to my mother," she stammered, trying to hold on to her anger. "Yes," Femi admitted softly. "I lied to save you. Because I love you, Titi. And I couldn't lose you to a man who doesn't even know the value of what he is buying." The confession hung in the air between them, heavy and real. Titi's heart pounded against her ribs. He loved her. The man she admired, the man she thought looked down on her, loved her. But instead of falling into his arms, a new feeling rose up in Titi. A feeling of defiance. Femi reached out to hold her hand, expecting a hug or a smile. He thought his confession would fix everything. He thought that knowing he was single and in love with her would make Titi happy. But Titi stepped back. She looked at his hand like it was a snake. "You love me?" Titi asked, her voice low and dangerous. "Is that why you made a decision for me without asking me? Is that why you treated me like a child who cannot speak for herself?" Femi looked confused. "Titi, I saved you. You were going to marry a man you hate. I was going to marry him because I felt I had no choice," Titi shouted. "And then you came and created another lie to control my life. Kunnel tried to buy me with money. You tried to buy me with your cleverness. Both of you think I am just a thing to be moved around. A pawn in your game. It is not like that," Femi protested. "I want the best for you. Marry me, Titi. Let me take care of you. I will send you to university. You won't have to struggle anymore." Titi shook her head slowly. The clarity in her mind was sharp like broken glass. She realized that if she married Femi now, she would forever be the washer girl he rescued. She would always owe him. It would just be a different cage, a cleaner one with books, but still a cage. "I don't need saving, Femi," Titi said firmly. "And I don't need a husband to send me to school. I have a brain. I have 2 hands. Titi, be reasonable. The exam is in 2 weeks. You miss classes. You need my help." "I needed your help when I thought you respected me," Titi said. "Now, I realized I need to respect myself first. I am done washing your clothes. I am done seeking approval from men." She picked up her bag from the sofa. She felt lighter than she had in years. "Goodbye, Mr. Femi. Thank you for the lessons. But I will finish this journey on my own." She walked out the door. Femi called her name, but she did not turn back. She walked down the stairs, out of the gate, and into the busy Surulere street. She did not take a bus immediately. She walked for a while, feeling the ground beneath her feet. She was alone, broke, and the exam was days away. But for the first time, the dream belonged to her. It wasn't to please her mother. It wasn't to impress Femi. It was for Titi. When she got back to the mainland, the sun was setting. Mama Titi was sitting inside the room, looking fearful. When Titi entered, Mama jumped up. "Titi, are you okay? Did you take anything?" Mama asked, checking Titi's eyes for signs of poison. Titi dropped her bag on the bed. She looked at her mother. "Mama, sit down. I am not going to kill myself. That was a lie. I want to live." Mama let out a long breath, holding her chest. "Thank God. Thank God. But listen to me," Titi continued, her voice hard. "I am not marrying Kunnel. And I am not marrying the teacher. I am marrying this book." She pointed to the pile of textbooks in the corner. "I have 2 weeks, Titi said. I don't want to hear about money. I don't want to hear about neighbors. I don't want visitors. If anyone comes to greet me, tell them I am not around. I am going to war." Mama Titi nodded, silenced by the fire in her daughter's eyes. "Okay, Titi. Okay." From that evening, the small room became a fortress. Titi locked the door. She took her old phone and removed the battery so no one could call her. Lagos was loud outside. The generator from the next room roared like a tractor. The neighbors' children screamed and played football in the hallway. The Fuji music from the bar down the street shook the window frames. Titi blocked it all out. She stuffed cotton wool in her ears. She sat on the floor with a candle when Nipa took the light. She read until her eyes watered. She recited formulas while she bathed. She practiced English structures while she ate dry gari. She revisited every topic Femi had taught her, but this time, she taught herself. She found new ways to remember the answers. When doubts whispered in her ear that she was a failure, she answered them with algebra. When loneliness tried to creep in, she chased it away with chemistry definitions. She became a ghost in her own house. She grew thin and dark circles formed under her eyes, but her mind was expanding. She was building a future, brick by brick, in the silence of her mind. She needed no savior. She was becoming her own hero. The 2 weeks before the exam passed like a fever dream. Titi lost track of day and night. The small room in the tenement house became her entire world. Outside, Lagos did not stop. The neighbors held a naming ceremony on the Saturday before the exam, blasting Fuji music so loud the window panes rattled. Titi simply stuffed more cotton wool into her ears, sweating in the heat, her eyes fixed on her physics textbook. When Nipa took the light, as they always did, Titi did not curse. She lit her candle. The flame flickered in the humid air, casting long shadows on the wall. Mosquitoes sang in her ears, but Titi slapped them away without looking up. She was not just reading, she was devouring the books. The equations that used to look like Greek now looked like old friends. The English passages that used to confuse her now made perfect sense. On the morning of the exam, Titi walked to the CBT center alone. She did not look for a free ride from Kunnel. She did not look for a last-minute prayer from Mr. Femi. She bought a sachet of pure water, drank it, and walked into the hall with her head high. When she sat in front of the computer, her hands did not shake. She typed her answers with a calm mind. She knew she had done the work. Then came the waiting. For 3 weeks, the silence in the house was heavy. Mama Titi walked on tiptoes, afraid to ask questions. Every time Titi's phone beeped, Mama would jump, looking at Titi with wide, fearful eyes. "Is it out?" Mama would whisper. "Not yet, Mama," Titi would reply, her stomach turning into knots. Finally, on a Tuesday evening, the news broke. Someone shouted from the balcony upstairs. "Result dawn show oh. Check your portal." The compound erupted in noise. Students ran to the cyber cafe down the street. Titi sat on her bed. Her hands were trembling so much she dropped her phone twice. "Check it, Titi," Mama said, standing by the door, clutching her wrapper. "God is alive." Titi picked up the phone. The network was bad. The circle on the screen spun round and round. Loading. Loading. Titi held her breath. The generator next door was roaring, and a baby was crying in the hallway, but Titi heard nothing but the beating of her own heart. "Please," she prayed. "I don't want to be a washer girl. I don't want to be a wife. I want to be Titi." The screen blinked. The page loaded. Candidate name, Titi Sola Adetola. Aggregate score, 315. Titi stared at the number. She blinked. She rubbed her eyes. 315, it was not just a pass. It was a distinction. It was a score that could get her into any university in the country. A sound started low in her throat and exploded out of her mouth. "Aya!" Titi screamed. It was a raw, loud scream that tore through the roof. Mama Titi thought something terrible had happened. She rushed forward. "Titi, what is it? Did you fail?" Titi jumped off the bed. She threw the phone on the pillow and grabbed her mother. She lifted the older woman off the ground, spinning her around. "I smashed it, Mama. I smashed it. 315. I am going to university." Mama Titi's legs went weak. She fell back onto the bed, grabbing the phone to see with her own eyes. She saw the green text. She didn't understand the breakdown, but she knew the number was big. "Aliwa-oh," Mama shouted, raising her hands. "My enemy is put to shame." The neighbors, hearing the screaming, ran to their window. "Mama Titi, is everything okay?" a woman called out, expecting a fight or a tragedy. Titi ran to the window. She pushed it open and looked at the crowded, dirty compound. She saw the girls who had mocked her at the salon. She saw the boys who told her to just marry money. "I passed," Titi shouted at the top of her voice, letting the whole mainland hear. "I am going to school. I am not a half-pack. I am a star." Mama Titi came to the window and hugged her daughter from behind, crying tears of joy. "You did it, Titi. You did it." Titi looked out at the Lagos skyline in the distance. The sun was setting, painting the dusty roofs with gold light. She thought about Kunnel and his big car. She thought about Femi and his lessons. They had both offered her a way out, but they wanted to hold the key. Titi smiled, wiping her own tears. She had washed clothes until her hands peeled. She had rejected millions. She had walked away from love. And she had won. She turned to her mother. "Mama, go and boil rice. Tonight we are eating like queens. I am the one who will change our story. Not a husband. Me." And in the small, hot room, Titi felt taller than any skyscraper on the island. She had written her own destiny, and the ink was permanent. And that is the story of Simi, the girl who refused to let her condition determine her destination. She taught us a powerful lesson today, that while money can buy a bed, it cannot buy sleep. It can buy a house, but it cannot buy a home or a mind of your own. Simi rejected the easy path of being a rich man's trophy to walk the hard, dusty road of self-discovery. She proved that you don't need a savior to be a hero. Sometimes you just need grit, a book, and the courage to believe in yourself when everyone else calls you a fool. But now, I want to hear from you. Let's be honest in the comments section. It was not an easy choice. If you were in Simi's shoes, facing hunger and rent walla, would you have rejected Kunnal's millions? Or if you were Mama Simi, would you have forced the marriage to save your family from poverty? There are no wrong answers, just honest ones. Drop your thoughts below. If this story touched your heart or gave you ginger to chase your own dreams, please like this video and share it with a friend who needs motivation. And remember, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell. We are building a family here at the Folktale Bestie, and we don't want you to miss the next powerful tale. Don't forget to tell us which country you are watching from. We see you, and we appreciate every single one of you. Until next time, keep writing your own story. Bye for now.